Amazon sellers are obsessed with revenue. We're consistently seeing people flexing their seller essential about how they've done 50k or how they've hit 6 figures. Great, but the question nobody's asking is how much of this did they actually get to keep? Because revenue is just the starting point. And if that's the only figure that you're keeping your eye on, there's a good chance that your business is losing money every single month without you realizing it. Which is why in today's video, we are going to be walking through why revenue is the wrong metric to be obsessed with, and instead what you should be looking at and the specific things that are going to be eating into your profits without you even realizing it. Let's get into the video. So first off, we're going to be talking about why is everyone actually obsessed with revenue? Well, revenue is the amount of money that customers have paid for your products before Amazon has taken away any fees or even your cost of goods are caught into it. So basically, it is the biggest number possible that you can go and show off rather than actually how much money you're making. Because to the untrained eye, why would I say that I've got to make 30k in profit when I've actually done 250k in sales? To someone who doesn't know what's going on, obviously 250k sounds a lot more successful than 30k, but that person actually making 250k in revenue might actually only be making 30k in profit. And it's not just people showing off what their revenue, it's actually really dangerous to get too obsessed with revenue within your own business, because a lot of new sellers can see that when their revenue is going up, they believe that their business is being more successful. But that is super easy to happen. Obviously with numbers going up, you can have endorphins going off left, right and center, but the reality is that's not complete information. What the complete information is knowing how much you've made after fees or taxes or even returns. Because now what I'm going to talk about is what happens between that revenue figure and actually the money you get to take home. The first thing you're going to be hit with is an Amazon referral fee. This is basically Amazon taking their cut for you getting that sale. This is traditionally about 15%. Now we move on to the second thing that Amazon does for you, and as a result, they take a fee for, and that is their fulfillment fee. This is basically them packaging up your item and sending it to the customer. The fulfillment fee is normally about £2 to £3, although we can see this being lower if you've got a small item, or we can see this being higher if you've got an oversized item. And another fee Amazon is going to go and hit you with is going to be the storage fee. This is if you have items that haven't been sold within 30 days, they're going to go and charge you more to be able to store it in the warehouse. And of course, if you don't go and sell it within 180 days, you're then hit with another fee. We can also see storage fees vary depending on the category and if it is oversized or standard. And those are all the fees for sending the products out to the customers. But what if the customer sends the product back to Amazon, a return? Amazon is renowned for having a really good returns policy, but that's for the customers. As a sellers, that really good returns policy kind of works against us. In fact, we're going to go and pay a returns fee with them sending back the product, and then we don't even know what state that product's going to be when we receive it. This, again, is not going to be incorporated into the revenue figure. So as I've just explained, there are a ton of fees between the revenue figure and the figure that you're actually going to go and take home. And we haven't even talked about cost of goods. So let's get into that. So I'm now going to run you through a little example to go and explain how cost of goods can have a massive impact on how your revenue and your profit will heavily vary. So let's say in a month I managed to go and do 50 grand in revenue. Sounds great, but let's say the goods that I bought to be able to get that 50 grand in revenue cost me 25 grand. That's already half of the revenue that I could get as potential profit, but there's a lot more fees as we just said. Let's say Amazon fees across fulfillment, storage and returns comes to about 12,000, and we've got other expenses such as potentially VAT, shipping and software. So let's say that comes to around about 5,000, and this would leave you with 8,000. This means on the surface it looks like your business is potentially doing 50,000 a month, but you're actually only getting 16% of that, and as a result earning 8,000 a month. And the problem isn't just the number being misleading in isolation, it's how Amazon sellers react to it. They'll potentially be expanding into additional product lines without knowing if the margin is there to go and support it, or an extremely consistent one where people will be celebrating really high revenue, but then they'll be in an absolute chokehold when it comes to what their cash flow is doing. And as a result, people end up scaling a losing business, because as they go and scale up their business, the problems are scaling up with it. And the top line looks great, but they're not asking the questions that are going to give the reality of actually how profitable it is. With all that being said, you really can't ignore revenue, because revenue actually tells you a part of a story. And that's the problem. It tells you a part of a story, so if you're not looking at everything, you're just going to be sold a false narrative. But if you're looking at lots of different figures and metrics, then you can put together the full story and allow you to know how successful your business is doing. So with all that being said, what you do need is something that shows you a live profit and loss. Something that pulls your expenses, your fees, your cost of goods automatically updated the moment an order lands. This will allow you to then go and make decisions based on facts, not guesses, and that is exactly what SellerToolKit is built to do. If you're interested in a free trial, do make sure to check out the link in the description, but let's get back underway with the video. So if revenue isn't the number to focus on, the next question is, where is this money actually going? Well, there are specific places that money will easily leak out of an Amazon business. Most sellers aren't aware of these whatsoever because they're not tracking them, or if they are tracking them, they're tracking them badly. Now, the first one of these is cost of goods. Most sellers know roughly what they pay for their goods, but roughly just won't cut it. Because let's say, for example, you've gone and bought 200 units in January and they've sold out, so you've gone and replenished in March. Well, between January and March, potentially the cost of goods has actually gone up, maybe the shipping's increased, or maybe there's been a change of exchange rate. And if you didn't sell out the first set of units, this means that you've got two different sets of units for the same product, but at completely different prices. Now, the problem a lot of users will have is that they won't actually go and update their price for the second set of unit. So for example, maybe the first set of units cost £10 and the second set of units cost £20. A simple just forgetting to update the cost of goods can have a massive impact on how profitable the product is and how profitable your business is. Or another thing some sellers do is what they'll do is they'll combine the first set of units and the second set of units, and then they'll find the price they paid for all the units, and then they'll just divide it. But this doesn't actually work. So the method that you want to be using is first in, first out. This simply put, the first 50 units, I'm going to use the cost of goods for them for the first 50 that sell. And the second 50 units I buy, I'm going to use the cost of goods for them for the second 50 units I sell. And this is what accurate order level profit requires. And SellerToolKit is the only app out there that will do this, and as a result, give me the most accurate figures. The next thing we'll be talking about is going to be the Amazon fees, which a lot of sellers heavily underestimate how much it cuts into their profit. The fees that normally get missed, we've got return fees, we've got stock that's been sitting in warehouses for a while, and Amazon does like to roll out some mid-year sort of fees that don't really get communicated clearly. Individually, these fees can seem like nothing. It can be a few p per unit, but when you're looking at a lot of units in a large catalog, these can eat really heavily into your revenue. And if you're not tracking all the fees that are happening per unit, then you won't be aware of which SKUs that on surface look fine, but actually are being quietly killed. And the third area that is heavily missed is reimbursements, something a lot of users are really surprised at when they first look into it. Now, it's no surprise that Amazon operates at such a big scale, and especially because there's a lot of human interaction, there can be problems. For example, I can go and send in 100 units and maybe only 98 end up getting counted in. Or whilst they're in the warehouse, maybe they're going to get damaged. Again, there are humans in there and humans can make errors. Well, a lot of the time people won't be aware these are occurring. Now, sometimes it doesn't matter that you're not aware that these are occurring because actually Amazon will go and reimburse you automatically. But sometimes they will not reimburse you automatically, which then leaves a lot of money on the table if you're not chasing it yourself. But luckily, SellerToolKit do have something incorporated into their system that does allow you to go and chase reimbursements a lot easier, allowing you to go and recoup the money that Amazon has lost you. So we've talked about what metric to not look at, we've talked about what sort of things are eating up the profits in your business, but let's go and end off the video by talking about what metric should you be looking at. Now, I've already used the word a few times in this video, and the word we want to be looking at and the metric we want to be looking at is profit. But even profit itself is a word that gets used very loosely. So let's go into more depth about what sort of profit we should be looking into. Because there is a difference between estimated profit, approximate profit, and order level profit. Now, most sellers, even if they're not aware, are actually working on one of the first two. This is because their profits are running off of incomplete data. But what you actually need to be running off of is the third one, order level profit. So what is order level profit? Order level profit is understanding what profit or loss you've made on every individual order. So this means that we know the sell price minus the exact cost of goods from that specific batch. We're then going to go minus every single Amazon fee and all the relevant expenses, and that is your figure. And when you have this level of visibility, it allows you to make your decisions completely different. It allows you to see the products that are actually profitable rather than those that look good on revenue but actually run a thin or negative on margin. You can then also go and make reorders on what is actually profitable rather than what is just selling a lot of units. You can also go and price with confidence because you'll know the floor and the point below on every single sale. You'll also be able to spot problems before they compound too early. For example, if fees have slowly crept up from Amazon, or if your suppliers have increased the price of your cost of goods and now they're in unprofitable territory. And you can stop celebrating revenue for the sake of it because now you actually have a number that tells you something. So now this means that you have to shift your mindset into understanding revenue is telling you how busy your business is, but profit is showing you how healthy it is. Because some sellers will have a really busy business, but but it's also really unhealthy. And because of how busy they are, they actually don't have time to go and move from one figure and looking into the other. And that's the shift from watching your revenue to understanding your profit. And once you make it, you'll never go back to running your business off top line numbers ever again. But if you want to see how Seller Toolkit does all of this, there is a link in the description where you can start your free trial with no payment details required. Just connect your account and let it pull data so now you can go and see your real numbers for the first time. So again, make sure to click on the link to get started with Seller Toolkit. And if you want to watch a video on how to get the most out of Seller Toolkit, make sure to check this one right here.